The following podcast, iDesign Lab, is an SW Group production in association with 5 Star and TW Interiors. This is iDesign Lab, a podcast where creativity and curiosity meet style and design. Curator of interiors, furnishings, and lifestyles. Hosted by Tiffany Woolley, an interior designer and a style enthusiast, along with her serial entrepreneur husband, Scott. iDesign Lab is your ultimate design podcast, where we explore the rich and vibrant world of design and its constant evolution in style and trends. iDesign Lab provides industry insight, discussing the latest trends, styles, and everything in between to better help you style your life through advice from trendsetters, designers, influencers, innovators, fabricators, and manufacturers, as well as personal stories that inspire, motivate, and excite. So whether you're listening to iDesign Lab during your commute, or in a cozy nook in your home or office, grab a coffee or a Chardonnay and join us on this elevated, informative, and lively journey into the world of all things design.
Welcome to today's iDesign Lab tidbit. We are talking budgets. Making peace with your budget and prioritizing how money is spent and having a game plan for that.
Or having a budget, period.
Yeah. Well,
having
a budget and trying to stay in budget.
Well, the biggest thing that I see in the interior design world is people are opposed or seem shy or don't want to expose or tell us what their budget is.
It's true. And I was told at one point, whoever says numbers first loses. So
Right.
I try to never give the numbers first. I want information from my clients.
But when it comes to interior design, you can't really give a client budget. How do you do that?
Right, you need a gauge. And you need a gauge for a budget because that kind of dictates what vendors you work within. So I like to often tell my clients that I need a parameter to stay in, and then I want them to be comfortable with that number and then somewhat let go. And those tend to be the happiest clients in the end.
Correct.
Those are the people who are the most satisfied because every I gets dotted and every T gets crossed because we're able to have this gauge. And then you can determine where you want to splurge and then you'll save. So when you're doing a budget, like I said, it's great to have that number and again, have the client make peace with that number. And it's great to have that number per project.
Well, it's really a client. They're not going to know what their budget is to, let's say, do the house or redo the house or redo a living room. But they're going to have an understanding of how much they want to spend.
Well, right. They're going to have a gauge of $300 a square foot to $3,000 a square foot.
But it might not be based on square foot. It might just be I have $50,000 to do my living room, or that's all I want to spend. And most people, like you just said, are opposed to saying $50,000 because they feel like they're negotiating against themselves. That, okay, I have $50,000 to spend, and they think, well, now they're going to spend every single penny of that $50,000. What they're not realizing is by explaining that that's my budget, the interior decorator is then able to, like you just said, pick the proper manufacturers and suppliers to put together a design that will complete the room.
Right. The goal is final completion and to make sure you get all the components that are needed, whether it be a bathroom remodel or whether it be a complete new home, soup to nuts. There needs to be a number that you're comfortable with and, again, make peace with so that we can do what we do best.
Well, it's like pretty much almost everything that people buy. You're going to go buy a new home, they got a price number that they have in mind of what they want to spend for the house. You go buy a new car or you even have a new car customized and designed for you. You know what you're going to want to spend. You go get a new suit made. You know, the person knows that I'm not going to spend more than $1,500 for a new suit. So what we're trying to talk about in this episode is that people really, if you want to get the most out of your interior designer, you really need to focus on, in that initial meeting, what numbers you're willing to spend.
You're comfortable with. And I say that too because the more information, knowledge is power. You know, I had a project at one point where I had no idea what they wanted to spend, but I kind of start to gauge on, what's the cost of the house, what's resale in the area, how do they look and dress, and try to, visualize from the information I do have at my disposal, which is obviously what I see. And I try to gauge from there. And sometimes clients don't know really what they want to spend or how much things are going to cost. But at the same time, you don't want to shortchange yourself. So if you want to push the envelope and you say, okay, give me a number from a room, go to a high-end number if you are comfortable spending more, because you're going to open up a whole new can of worms as far as what vendors, we would be looking into for your project. So you really need to make your decision, are you in that Coach bracket or are you in the Chanel bracket? You got to really determine where you are and be comfortable communicating that.
And I think we're talking about the vast majority of clients or consumers that are out there, because there is that small percentage, I'll say, that doesn't have a budget because they don't even want to think about what the budget is. They just want it done right because they have the money and whatever it's going to cost. I think back of doing television commercials with clients that are corporations and companies in most cases, or an ad agency, and talking to them about budget. And then I've had clients where they don't want to hear about the budget. Present something to me that's going to be the best thing for my brand, and they're willing to spend whatever is presented to them.
But they need to be comfortable communicating that. And I guess that would be the best tidbit of today, is really to be comfortable with some form of number, whether it be the lack of a number or the need of staying tight to a number.
Correct.
The information should be transparent, and the client, the end user, should be completely confident and comfortable giving you that information for the most successful end game.
Correct.
So that's the day's
tidbit. It's a good conversation about budget that people, it's probably the biggest thing to talk to clients, customers about. Mm-hmm. It's the biggest thing I think that people have a hard time wanting to talk about, on how much they want to spend, because I think that, like I said, the average person, needs to be on a budget or needs to somewhat control what they are going to spend. And those are the individuals that really need to think about that. Anyone who's thinking about using an interior decorator, because your interior decorator or your interior designer will be able to do a lot more and accomplish a lot more, and actually a quicker amount of time.
Agreed.
With those numbers. And then there are the clients that don't really want to hear about what a budget is, because they just want it done absolutely beautiful, and budget's not really the concern.
And with that comes, the expectation of timing and everything. There's like a funny quote around that. You can have it really well made, or let's say you can have quality, you can have a good price point, and you can have a good time frame, but you don't get all three. You only can pick two. So if you want it really well made and you want a good price, you're going to wait.
Correct.
And if you want to not wait and you want good quality, you're going to pay. So you get to pick two.
So that's our little banter for today. And we'd love to hear back from anyone who's their thoughts on our conversation today pertaining to budget.
Feel free, drop us a note.
iDesign Labs podcast is an SW Group production in association with the 5-Star and TW Interiors. To learn more about iDesign Lab or TW Interiors, please visit twinteriors.com.